I wouldn't want to say that Abzu strays far from the norm, mainly because with the creativity of those crafting the games that we enjoy playing, and the rise of unique indie games, there is no set path that games should follow. We may have gaming tropes or genres that most games can be factored into, and Abzu can be sectioned into the group we call adventure games, but its strangely beautiful mindset is not something that its fellow adventure titles hold as dearly. With little action, no dialogue, and an ocean to explore, Abzu still manages to tell a tight, albeit mysterious, story. Abzu manages to tell a vague but vast story within the 2-hour time frame it provides its players with. While swimming along the linear path, I saw myself more focused on what was going on around me in the present, rather than delve deep into the mysterious civilization that previously inhabited the vast ocean floor. However, as time goes on, the many messages and ideas that are represented in the game's design become more apparent, allowing gamers to piece together a mystery that aims to impact those who listen. It may take one sitting to complete, but its true excellence is going to be found in the ruined temples and cave paintings during subsequent playthroughs. I've actually completed this game 3 times now, and granted, I haven't looked too much into unraveling the narrative that resides within, but there is enough hints and ideas floating throughout to really push the game's lore, regardless of its mute storytelling. With absolutely no lines of dialogue being said, players can piece together a fascinating story with some effort, figuring out the true meaning of the many temples, murals, and alien-like technology. The many meanings of Abzu create a beautiful narrative that wants to strike an emotional response in players, and I believe those behind the game want to make it apparent how we treat and respect our oceans. Giant Squid, the studio behind a very similar game entitled Journey, does another inspiring job creating a world that flows with value and perspective. Abzu brings to light the debate about the use of technology and how we incorporate it into our lives. It speaks to how the machines we craft cause issues due to its influences over our oceans. With further inspection in the cave paintings, we can figure out what happened before the arrival of the diver. It is difficult to say whether the figure on the murals is the diver or just a figure from ancient times, but its importance to their culture appears to be second to none. That is until the arrival of the pyramid, which, much like the figure, has the ability to absorb and collect a blue energy that is buried within the ocean floors. From what we can figure out, the disappearance of said figure, having been replaced by the pyramid, created an era where the pyramid drained most of the blue energy out of the ocean. We don't know the exact origins of any of these beings, and the appearance of the diver is never truly explained. However, the diver does go about reactivating the blue energy, imbuing the sea with life once more. From here, it's the job of the player to restore the ocean to its former glory, and to use the power of the blue energy to destroy the pyramid once and for all. Abzu tells a very powerful story, one that may not be apparent without multiple playthroughs. However, my attention usually stayed within another silent world the game was building. The ocean and all of its inhabitants feel lifelike at times. Even with the blocky aesthetic and the overly vibrant colors, I felt myself zoning out often and admiring the wildlife for what they were. At times you can interact with them, latching onto the larger of the sea life to swim along with them. But at times, it's just nice to meditate on some of the hidden statues just to observe the aquatic residents, watching as they swim and interact. With increasingly interesting wildlife being presented over a steady time frame, there will always be a creature that will demand your attention. Abzu shows you the largest of areas, making a statement on the hidden universe that exists just below the water's surface, pulling us through the sections of ocean that would cause terror if seen in real life. It's difficult to say a game feels surreal, but depending on whether the player will allow a game to overcome them, depending on your ability to lose yourself within the confines of a game's world, Abzu may just provide a dreamlike state for players to disappear in. The world is vast, and although the controls can feel floaty at times, it may be enticing for gamers to let themselves feel free within it. Traversing and experiencing everything Abzu has to offer can be an enlightening experience, but moving around the deep waters can be a mystery in its own right. We've all had our own personal issues with water levels. Although there are a lot of those issues that are qualmed here, the difficult maneuvering can still rear its ugly head. I regularly found myself having difficulty moving around vertically, or within turning myself around. But in wide open areas, these difficulties were few and far between. The real trouble exists within the confines of the temple corridors, or when avoiding the exploding mini pyramids that litter the seabed. Tightly controlled movement is not something that Abzu does particularly well, and at least while traversing past multiple mines, it can be fairly annoying. To be honest, if anything was holding the game back, it would be this minute detail. But I found myself quickly getting past it without a second thought. Most of the time, Abzu controls extremely well, allowing players to swim around the 3D space with ease. Abzu is not a very big game, but what it holds hidden to those willing to look is an experience that I believe most players should have. It manages to do some many subtle yet amazing things, providing a narrative that truly shines when uncovered. You may play the game and interpret the story in a completely different way than I have, or if you're like me on my first playthrough, you might gloss over it entirely. Regardless of how you go about playing, you will find a breathtaking and inspiring third-person adventure game that will fill an afternoon with delight. It's difficult to tell how big of an influence that Abzu will have on the gaming community, but hopefully it will find its place somewhere on the shelves of gamers who will truly appreciate its depth. Thank you for watching, everyone. I truly hope you pick up Abzu and see exactly what it has to offer. And if you like this video, then please subscribe and check out more content.